Okay guys, this is part 2 of evaluating rational exponents. Before I go over the problems, let's go over one of the properties that we learned from first semester, okay? So let's just say if you have x squared times x to the third power. So you see, notice the same base. So what we were doing to the exponents is that we will add them. So it's going to be x2 plus 3, which is x to the fifth power. This will be our answers. Okay, so keep this in mind. We're going to use this property to apply to the next throughout the problem. Okay, so let's look at these problems right here. This is fractional exponents. So when we add or subtract fractions, we need to have the same denominator, right? So this one right here is going to be x to the 2 to the 7th plus 3 over 14. Notice these denominator, they are not the same, so we're going to make them the same. So the least common denominator is 14, right? Then that means we're going to multiply this part by 2 over 2. So that's going to give me 4 over 14 plus 3 over 14. So that's going to be 7 over 14. And then you can still reduce these fractions further. So the final answer is x to the 1/2. And that's your answer, okay? Now move on to number 2. So number 2, I added in the coefficients, but the idea stays the same. So let's rewrite this problem, okay? We have a 3 here, x to the 7 over 4 times, since we don't have a coefficient here, there's invisible 1. And then bring down x, and since we don't have an exponent here, there is also invisible 1, like that. Okay, so now we're going to take care numbers with numbers. So 3 times 1, and then letters, and then the exponents with the variables with the variables. So that's going to be x 7 over 4 plus 1. But we're going to put this over 1 to make it a fraction, okay? So 3 times 1 is 3. X 7 over 4, since, again, same idea, we need to have the same exponents. So we're going to multiply this by 4. We don't want that. We're going to multiply this by 4 over 4. So it's going to be 4 over 4, right? Because this multiply 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4. So 3x to the 11 over 4 is your final answers, okay? That's number 2. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, same thing. Now we both have coefficients here. We're going to take care of that, multiply it together. And then here there's invisible 1, right? Over 1. So 2 times 3, b 1 over 1 plus 1 over 2. So 2 times 3, that's 6. Here we need to multiply by the same denominators. In this case, it's going to be a 2, top and bottom. So 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2. So 6 to the 3, b to the 3 over 2 power. And that's your final answers. Okay, moving on to number 4. So notice it's negative fractional exponents, but we treat them the same way, okay? So there's invisible 1 here. So 3 times 1, and then x minus 1 minus 7 over 4. Now again, this is not a fraction. We're going to make it into a fraction, put over 1. We're going to multiply this by 4 over 4. So that's going to give us a 3, negative 4 over 4 minus 7 over 4. So 3x minus 11 over 4, right? Because negative 4 minus 7 is negative 11. Now here, normally we will be done, but the thing is we have a negative exponent. If we have a negative exponent, we have to make it a positive. So in this case, we are going to bring it down. Okay, because the negative 11 to the 4th is only belong to the x, not the 3. So the 3 stays on top, and x 11 over 4 goes down to the bottom, and that's your final answers. Okay, moving on to number 5, same thing, 3 times 4, and then m is going to be negative 3 over 2 minus 2 over 3. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 2 and 3, they have an LCD of 6. So that means we have to multiply the first part by something that makes a 2 turn into a 6. So in this case, it would be a 3 over 3. And then for the second part is 2/3. We're going to need to multiply 2 over 2 to make to turn it into a 6. So 12 stays. So m minus 9 over 6 minus 4 over 6. So negative 9 and negative 4, that's negative 13 over 6. And again, this right here is negative, so we have to bring it down. So the final answer is 12 over m 13 over 6. And that's your final answers.